Hey, what's going on, everyone? Dominic, the Primetime Treasure Hunter here. Going to do some treasure hunting today. We're going to go over to the flea market and also to an estate sale. Now, I didn't go anywhere yesterday because there wasn't that many good things going on. And also, I pretty much spent the majority of the day painting the flood area. I've got some staining to do later on today, so it's going to be a very, very busy day. I was doing a lot of listings this morning, but it's time to go and try and find some treasure. So let's head out there and see what we can find. All right, here we are at the flea market. I am here a little bit late, just given a lot of stuff I had going on this morning. But again, our weekly parking lot check, it is still a little thin. So hopefully, though, there'll be some good stuff from the vendors. We'll see. So I came across this table with some vintage electronic pieces on them. The one to the right with the blue screen is an oscilloscope. It graphically displays signal voltages if it works. So you should see lights flashing on the screen. We'll see if it does in a moment. The key with that item and the others is to see if they power on. And what do you do at a flea market, right? Well, you got to look around. Look for these posts, and some of them will have electrical outlets on them. If you're testing it and it doesn't work, like this one, you can see nothing's flashing on the screen when I press the power button. Make sure you're testing the other outlets because you could just be dealing with a dead outlet issue. So just make sure you take that into account. Now, this I will tell you about what it is later. Just for now, you'll see that it's powering on, and you'll see that the next item is powering on as well. So I picked up this item and the next item, this one here, for a total of $15. So what do these things sell for? What exactly are they? Why do people sell them for so cheap? And why can I sell them for a lot? Well, stay tuned. That's coming a little bit later. You can see the needle, the analog needle is moving back and forth there. So that's all good signs. Now, there were plenty of things I passed up today. Like, this is a cool item. Like, it looks cool, but there's a million of them out there and it doesn't sell for much. That's Star Wars Treasury down to the left. There's a million of them out there. Doesn't sell for much. Yet this item here for $5, I picked it up. Right now, there's only one available for $75, and it's only available in England. So, I picked it up. Here's a table of contents coming up if you're curious what's in it. But I love this type of stuff. Well, that's been kind of par for the course this year for the flea market. So off we go to the estate sale and see if there's anything left over there. All right, we are near the estate sale. Looks like a little bit of an adventure. I feel like I'm going down a roller coaster here. Whee! That's what it feels like. But house is not far away, so let's get there. All right, well, here we are again at another one of these one-level homes shrouded in mystery. If there's a creepy staircase on this one, I don't know what I'm going to do, but let's go inside. So I picked up these vintage chair beads when I walked in through the garage. People like to use these for a massage. I've seen things like this sell for as high as $80. Not saying that this one will, but for $5, it was worth picking up. Then, yes, I walked down another set of creepy, scary basement steps. What was inside this time? Well, unfortunately, not much. As you can see, it is pretty empty in there. There was this scary metal slop sink back there with a Clorox bottle. It was a little dirty, so I always do a little double take. Is there like an arm or a leg in there or something? No, fortunately not. There was a shelf there with some Christmas decorations that were terrible. I'll show you one of them a little later. The records were terrible and in bad condition. But let me show you a couple specific things and why I didn't pick them up. Now, vices, I like picking up these things, but and I'll disconnect them and everything, but that brand, Desmond Stephan, is not sought after. Craftsman would be. You could also see these bolts are just inset into that wood there, and it would be a real pain trying to get that out. So I just left it behind for those reasons. Adding machines I will sometimes pick up. I did plug it in, tested it out, but it just wouldn't work. So I left that behind as well. And here's that Christmas decoration I was talking about. So this is looks like Clifford the Red Dog there, and looks vintage. And so one thing to tell you about this, for only $1, you might say, oh, pick it up, right? And I would have. The problem is, look what happens when you peel off that sticker there. It peels off the felt. So not worth it. Just decided to get out of there, and there's just not much there at this place. All right, so that's all I got. But funny story, while I'm in there, I'm walking around with my box, which I do at every estate sale that I go to. And this new guy who's working there, he's an old guy. He's got to be like in his 80s. And he says to me, sir, you can't walk around with that box. I don't think it's a good idea. I think it's not safe. And I said, listen, I walk around with this box all the time at every sale that I go to, and there's no problem. I said, you could ask so-and-so, the guy who runs the sale. He goes, no, I don't need to ask him. I think you need to leave the box there. So I looked at the guy who runs the sale. I'm like, can you talk to him? And the guy looks at me. He's like, it's all right. Let him have the box. So, gotta know people sometimes. Anyway, let's head back to Primetime Treasure headquarters. All right, so let's talk about those two vintage electronics pieces I bought at the flea market. This one right here is a voltmeter. Now, a voltmeter measures the electrical potential difference between 2 points on an electrical circuit. So you just plug it in like I showed you earlier in the video, and this is an analog scale, not a digital one. The newer ones, give you a digital readout like on this scale here. But with this one, you're just going to see this needle move up and down according to whatever the measurement is. Now, there are handheld voltmeters that are out there you should also be on the lookout for. I have sourced those before. This is again why I say that you want to carry batteries with you. People love the vintage ones, but being handheld ones, they're not quite as desirable as these, which are more fancy, and they have more substance to it, and they have more bells and whistles on them. So the handheld ones, you could get as much as about $60 out of them. But with these, you could get as high as $300 to $400 if you got the right voltmeter matched with the right buyer. Now, I don't expect this one to go for quite that much. Right now, I've got another person who's selling one of these, trying to sell one of these for about $115. But with my experience in selling voltmeters in the past, that's just about right. It might sell for $100. It might sell for a little bit lower than that, but I expect that to be right in the ballpark. So you can see this does have a handle with it, and you could carry it around like this, but it is big and bulky, and it has more of those kind of bells and whistles on them. Now, this one over here, this is called a universal bridge. Now, what this does is it measures different components of electricity. This one actually comes from Hewlett-Packard. Now, I don't want this to sound like too boring of a video, so I'll just give one example of one of the, almost fell down, of one of the terms that you'll see on here. This one here says R, so this is what this is measuring is electrical resistance, and there's all different terms here, which these little abbreviations, they all mean all sorts of different things. You can look all those up if you're interested in it. But this one actually recently sold. This exact model recently sold for $116. So if, let's just say I get about 100 each, now that's gross, you've got fees and stuff like that, but these are easy sales. There's people out there that are looking for these types of things. Now, there are lots of people out there who love to tinker in vintage electronics, and so they might want to invest in a piece like this as part of their hobby. There are also people out there who use the particular vintage electronics model for years, maybe even decades, and eventually what happens is that the item breaks down on them, and then they want to get another one. But they don't want to switch to a different model or get something new. They want to get the exact same type of one that they were using. And if there's a low to very low supply for that item, that's what's going to help drive the price up. And remember, We don't need 50,000 people to be searching for this type of item to drive up the price. We often talk about that when there's a high demand and a low supply, that price will go up. That's definitely true. But remember, as long as the supply is low to very low and there's even low demand, that could still drive up the price. What the lower demand is going to do, it's not going to really affect the price that much. It's just going to make the item sit a little bit longer. However, I will tell you that vintage electronics is one of those areas in which items do tend to sell pretty fast. Electronics in general, it's really one of the best selling categories to be in on eBay. So let's talk a little bit about why these types of items may sit around, and I think the actual reasons for that are also the same reasons as to why I could get these things for pretty cheap. One reason would be just not knowing what these types of items are. So, for example, how many people have heard of a universal bridge before this video? Not many people, unless you're someone watching this who is into electronics. So that's very important. Knowledge is money. Very, very important to remember that. The other thing, combined with just not knowing what it is it could look a little bit intimidating, being that it's kind of scientific in nature. So if you're not kind of scientifically inclined, that might kind of scare you away. You've got to learn to look past that stuff. Do not be scared by these types of things. Look at them like you would look at anything else that you are selling. They are all items. They have product numbers. They could be described, and they sell. You have to look at them all in that same kind of general way. Don't be intimidated by it. Now, the other thing is that they just don't look that exciting, these types of items. To most people, unless you're into vintage electronics or electronics, these are not going to really excite you too much, and it's going to be hard for you to see how it might, be something that other people would get excited into, right? Because look, what is it? It's just got a bunch of knobs on it. It's a box. Looks kind of old. There's nothing really that flashy or that great about it that the average person could relate to if you're not into electronics. Conversely, if you look in my eBay store, I have a couple items right here that I'll show you that actually do excite me, and I think have a greater chance of exciting the average person who came across them. Like, for example, a lot of people like the movies, and Halloween's not too far away. This is the Hammer Dracula soundtrack. I've got this in my eBay store right now. Great item. When I see it, I get excited. I love this type of thing. I like horror stuff. I like, science fiction stuff. I like comic stuff. All that stuff is enjoyable to me. So this one here, Capitan America, not Captain America, because this is a vintage Italian version of the Captain America comic book. Or, when I went and did the beer collector's estate sale haul, this Ballantine beer plush pillow, really cool item. I love that kind of stuff. I love vintage advertising. I love, vintage, figures like this, made in Japan figures, this elephant, bank, red elephant with the tapestry. All those types of things excite me, and I pick those types of things up. But one of the reasons that I'm showing you these things, besides putting a little plug in for my eBay store, is to tell you that of all those items there, which excite me, guess what? Which one am I going to make the most money on? This one here, that gives me absolutely really no excitement as a collector or anything like this. My only excitement about those types of items is just learning about something new. So, and that goes for really any area. So those are all important things. The other reason why people leave these behind is because they're scared about how to ship them. But just keep in mind, these are really, when I see them, these are ideal candidates to pick up because they're relatively small. I know it looks kind of big, but really it's just 11 inches long, that 11 to 12 inches. What you want are items that are like these types of items that are under 18 inches or under. That's what you're looking for, because then you could get it into cubic rate. So in cubic rate, you're just paying for the size of the box. The weight is being ignored. So this is about a 20-pound item. And the one that I showed you earlier, the voltmeter, that was about an 11-pound item. But don't worry about that. People pick up things like, and as long as it's like more than a pound, sometimes people get worried. Oh my God, what if it's got to go to California or any of that stuff? Don't worry about that, because the cubic rate shipping is going to ignore those things. What it's going to really look at and focus on is the size of the package. And this is considered ideal. The weight is just going to be factored right out of that. So look into Pirate Ship. FedEx will do some good cubic rate deals for you as well. You always should check that. These are types of items that I list under economy shipping. And then I've talked about this before. I've done a whole video on it. It gives me flexibility to use any carrier I want, so I don't go carrier specific. And I picked the option that says 1 to 10 days. So when it sells, I could use any option I want. I could use FedEx Ground, I could use FedEx Smart Post, I could use Priority, I could use Parcel Post. Whatever is the cheapest, that's how I will generally send it out. So, you just got to keep that in mind. Those are all real important things. Don't pass these types of things up. You can make big money with them. One last point, you've probably noticed a difference in acoustics, and some of you may be wondering, where the heck are you sitting right now, and why is this white wall behind you? Well, this is a painted wall in my flood area. This is a little, admittedly, not that big of a sneak peek because I want to wait until we could do the big reveal. But it's taken up a lot of time. I've been spending a lot of time painting. I painted the whole room. We're going to decorate it. I've been doing some staining of the new shelving system that I have in place. We're doing other things right now. So it's not complete, and it's just taking a lot of time, and there's some setbacks. I'll make one step forward and feel like I'm getting 2 steps back, but I'm still plugging along. And I'd rather wait to show you what this looks like when it's pretty much all said and done. So stay tuned for that. Remember, I've got a Cha-Ching-a-thon live show Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. A very important show. You, as the viewer, will be able to make money from being in the chat. You'll be able to make sales. So check out my prior Cha-Ching-a-thons if you want to see how that works. Remember, Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope to see you there. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you at the next one, everyone. Take care.